This is my prosthetic limb documentation. I've chosen a knee for this project as it's a relatively simple hinge joint, and there's a lot of good pictorial medical documentation of this system, which was very helpful when figuring out the tendons and ligaments in particular. As we can see in this first still, we have a close-up of the femur and the fibia at their join point. As you may be able to tell from the image, this material that I've chosen for the bone structures is an air-drying clay. I chose this because it's a rather cheap material, which lends itself to being able to make a lot of it very quickly. It is easy to work with, which means that I was able to create a faster production time for this. And the couple of days of full drying gave me the opportunity to make minor adjustments as this dried to allow for optimal movement between the femur and the fibia in particular. Looking at our next still, we can see that there's sort of a dry run of the skeletal system. We have the femur, the fibia, the tibia, and the patella stacked as it will sit in its final project. This third still gives us a feeling of scale. The box is about 1 foot long, meaning that the main bones, like the fibia and the femur, are 7 or 8 inches. In this next one, we can see that a couple days have passed as the bones are white, showing that they've almost completely dried, and you can see an opaque white substance on the ends of it. This is the attempt at cartilage that I've done. What I've done for this cartilage is I've put a bunch of hot glue sticks in a bowl that I then heated with a heat gun until it was liquefied. And after it was liquefied, I then dipped the edges of the bones into the hot glue. This worked well overall, the only issue being the femur, which was the heaviest of the bones, not being fully dry when I did this and therefore suffering a fracture, which is currently being repaired in this picture by clamping it together so that the super glue I have used to fuse the ends back together have dried. I feel like this gives my bones a more natural appearance, as human beings will often suffer a bone fracture at least once in their life. Our next image is of the patella. It's a close-up of it fully dry with the 2 tendons in place. The tendon on top is called a quadriceps tendon, while the tendon below the patella is known as the patellar tendon. I've chosen to make my tendons for the patella out of a hairband that I stole from my fiance. This hairband is rather flatter compared to most traditional hairbands, which I feel lends greater stability to my patellar tendons. Our next one is a pretty complete picture of a close-up of where the patella sits on the femur and fibia when connected. As you can see, the tendon is now attached both to the patella and the fibia and femur, as well as you can see the muscle on the underside of the femur a bit. And this next picture is just a full-scale view, giving the full femur to patella to fibia with the muscle, which in this case would be a hamstring, being able to be seen, and some of its attachment points as well. And this final still is just an example of the bend that is possible with this joint. This is not in this still being done with air, simply just testing the range of motion of the limb without any sort of air pressure applied. And this final video is a slow-mo of the knee limb bending. It has about a 60-degree range of motion, which is slightly less than a traditional knee would have.